Today we will be talking about this massive truck behind me, a 2021 RAM TRX. Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, my name is Grayson McTaggart. I like making videos with cars, and today we are actually making a truck video, and this is the truck in question. But before we start talking about it, be sure to subscribe down below and leave a like so you don't miss any of the content that I put out in the future. Anyways, with that said, let's get into the review. As you can see behind me, there is a huge TRX. This thing is a brand new truck from RAM, and honestly, if you've heard anything about it, it's not a truck, it is an absolute beast. Just standing next to this thing, I feel small, and I am 6'1". This thing towers over me, and it's just an incredible sight to see. Now, this specific RAM is actually modified slightly. It has a satin wrap on it, so that is not factory paint, and is silver beneath, and it is on aftermarket wheels with 37-inch tires. Besides that though, this is a completely stock truck from bumper to bumper. Now, starting from the front of this vehicle, you can see it is absolutely massive for a truck. I am 6'1", standing next to this thing, it towers over me. But the size isn't just what you want to focus on with this truck. Under that hood, it has a 6.2 liter V8 with a supercharger, putting out 702 horsepower, and who cares about the torque, because 702 horsepower. But everything cool about this truck doesn't just stop at the engine, which it is a very cool engine. Now, moving to the interior of the truck, it gets even more impressive. Now, on the outside, it can just look like a normal truck that's really big, but on the inside, it's where you start seeing all the little details that RAM really put into this. The first thing that your eyes locks onto is this steering wheel and then the gauge cluster. The gauge cluster doesn't look like a normal truck gauge cluster that you'd be used to seeing. Instead, it looks like it's straight out of a Hellcat. Moving past that, you immediately look at a massive screen in the center console. In this screen, you have more sections than you can count, more buttons than you know what to do with. But the coolest one overall is definitely the performance screen. In this, you get gauge clusters, reaction time, 0 to 60 time. It's incredible how much information that you can pull from this. Along with some other cool technology in this vehicle, it has wireless charging, more USB ports than you really need, and it has 2 AC volt outputs. So if you want to just plug in a normal charger for your laptop or your phone, you can do that. Something else interesting in this car is the center console. It is a massive center console, and you can fit pretty much anything you want in there. But something that's really interesting is on the bottom of the lid of the center console. For some reason, RAM has decided that you need to know trigonometry and Pythagorean's theorem in order to drive this vehicle. I don't know whether it's calculating jumps that you're going to do in this or finishing your high school math test, but regardless, they have it there in case you need it. Moving to the back of this truck, it is huge. Again, I am 6'1", and I feel like I could almost stand up in here. Now, the back seat obviously doesn't have as much of the cool tech as it does in the front seat, but we actually have camera equipment charging right here out of this 110 outlet. And when I say that is useful, it is very useful. If you think, oh, whatever, I'm not gonna use that, you will use it. For something, one thing or another, this is a very useful feature. Now again, there's plenty of room for activities in the back seat, and you can actually make more room by moving the seats around. I don't think I've ever seen a truck with adjustable rear back seats where you can actually recline them and move them to a certain extent. Not only that, if you just want to get it out of the way and make more room to store stuff, you can fold these back seats up and they're out of your way just like that. Now that's pretty much gonna do it for me talking about the interior. Let's go ahead and start this thing up and drive it so you guys can really get a feel for what this thing sounds like and drives like. This is a start up and some revs on a 2021 RAM TRX. Okay, so now we are inside the TRX, and before we get going, this thing is just incredible. I went ahead and rode with Wicks Way, and there will be a link to his channel down below, and he did an excellent review, so I definitely recommend you go check that out after this video. Now, not being a big truck guy, more of a car guy, this is definitely an incredible vehicle. It feels so huge, and the engine definitely fits with that as well. And being a 6.2 liter supercharged V8 that puts out 702 horsepower, that sounds like this, it's definitely gonna turn some heads. A lot of people compare this to the Raptor, but I don't think that's a great comparison. This thing is in a class of its own. I think the only thing that is comparable to this car, to a Raptor or any other truck, is that it's a truck. It's an absolute incredible vehicle that Ram has made, but it is also kind of a joke at the same time. There's definitely a lot of body roll in this car with it being as big and as heavy as it is, and with the weight and the massive engine. I think we're averaging about 8 miles to the gallon right now. If you got the money to have one of these cars, it's not the initial purchase price, it is the gas costs that you spend driving this car. This thing has a speedometer that says it goes up to 120, but I'm pretty sure it doesn't. It's limited somewhere, and I'm glad it is, because this thing going just 50 miles an hour, you can feel the weight just sway with you, whether you step on the gas, whether you brake, or even when you're turning. This thing just feels like it's ready to roll. But for some magical reason that Ram did when making this car, it won't. As much as I've pushed this car, and as much as Wicks Way has pushed this car, and trust me, he pushed it harder than I will, but this thing is planted for a truck, and it's genuinely surprising. All that said, gas mileage, whatever, this, again, I will say it over and over, this is an incredible truck. And it is very much appropriately named. This thing feels the size of an actual T-Rex dinosaur, and not only that, it runs on dinosaurs, and a lot of them. It burns through gas like crazy. With that, it also sounds like a T-Rex. Whenever you step on the gas, you hear this supercharger whine, like a T-Rex roaring as it's chasing you in a Jeep or something like that out of a scene of Jurassic Park. This thing is the thing chasing that Jeep down. This is an absolute monster of a vehicle, and I don't use that term lightly. This thing is built like it is ready to go off-road. I'm driving it, sadly, just on the average road right now, but it wants to go off-road. It wants to do jumps. It wants to go out into the desert and leap over sand dunes. This thing is ready to go with whatever you have it put against, weather-wise or terrain-wise. Not only that, with all these gauges and screens that you have inside of here, it brings a modern feel to the car, but you can choose whatever terrain you want to focus on, whether it's rock or snow, or if you want to set a custom preset, it's in here. Now, with the exterior of this car that we kind of walked around a little bit, I do want to emphasize some of the important points of it, and that this truck is wide. This truck is 2 inches wider on either side than the Raptor. The Raptor is a big truck, but this thing, it makes it look small. With those extra fender flares kind of added and kind of pulled those body lines out, it adds so much size to this vehicle, and it looks really good. Not only adds functionality. And speaking of functionality, on the hood, there's actually a functional hood vent that allows air to be sucked in right into the engine. It's definitely a functional piece, unlike some of these other trucks and cars that add these vents in there. The only thing that I think I would criticize about the look of this truck is that it kind of looks like any other Dodge truck. It's hard to kind of pick out just by the grille or the sides of it, but I don't really think that's a bad thing. You don't want, and you got the size, you got the weight, you got the feel, but you don't need some ostentatious, looking bumper on a truck. You can do that in the aftermarket. It's a daily driver. This is more something that you drive around in, that you feel comfortable in, that you don't want a bunch of people looking at you in, unless they know what it is that they're looking at.
I know you're used to driving a BRZ.
Yeah.
One of the smallest vehicles they make. You're now in one of the largest vehicles.
Yeah, right.
So, how comfortable are you feeling right now on these twisty country roads?
I am. Surprisingly, I'm actually feeling pretty good. Like this, going from a BRZ to a big truck like this, I've driven other trucks. This thing feels like I can just get in and immediately know exactly what it's going to do and how it's going to do it. And that's something that's really impressive and pretty hard to do in a vehicle. Yeah, going from a smaller car with a BRZ or a Datsun, as you guys know that I have on the channel, and then going into such a large vehicle like this, it feels, at first I was scared that I was gonna not be able to, not feel comfortable driving it, feel like I was gonna roll it or do something like that. But compared to other trucks that I've driven, this thing feels like once you get inside of it, you know exactly what it's gonna do, how it's gonna do it. It's like it wants to play with you. It's like a big fluffy dog who, like Clifford, who's like, I'm ready to go, let's go have some fun kind of a thing. And this isn't just like a, I'm here to work, I am square truck, I haul lumber. This thing is like, I'm ready to play and I'm ready to jump around. I'm ready to go do some jumps, not just tow.
It's exactly, you're completely right. It's like a big dumb dog.
It is.
It's a big dumb dog.
It's like
that's the best kind of dogs, the big dumb dogs.
Yeah.
You pick out a dog, you're like, oh, that one's that smart. No. Let me get the dumb one. Does that look dumb? Let me get the dumb dogs. He ran into the glass. Oh, poor dog. I want that one.
Yeah, right. It's such a great comparison with that, because this seriously, it feels like it's just a playful vehicle, and even though that size and weight, like it wants to shift and kind of dance with you as you drive, which usually I'd say about smaller cars, but this thing, it's ready to go. Now I'm gonna go ahead and pull over, and I'm gonna show you guys some of the other really cool features like launch control in this TRX.
So, launch control. You can do this. So press the brake, put in drive, press launch. It says apply brake pressure. Okay. Apply full throttle. Press OK for countdown start. Press OK. And you have pre-stage lights. Bop, 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 go. It's like a blue whale going 100. And brake. Yeah, buddy. Oh.
Well, at least it can stop.
Do you still have air in your lungs?
That's why it took me a second to say something. And that is going to conclude today's review of the 2021 Ram TRX. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please leave a comment and a like down below. Let me know if you like the Ram TRX and if you want to see more videos like this. Also, a huge shout out to LA at Wicks Way. He helped set all this up, and there will be a link to his channel down below. He also did a video with this Ram TRX, so be sure to go check that out. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you on the next one. Bye. And this is a startup and some RAM. Wait.